But in the book, the part of the guy that was drafted, he was small. And you know, Randy's like, what, 6'3" or 6'4", easily. And so I always begrudged Randy, as great as Randy is, you know, because, oh, you're too big for the part. You know, and he did an extraordinary performance in that. But at that moment in my life, I was real serious, and I'd read the book. And in my book, I talk about several years later, and this was something we all did in the 70s. We all went to the revival theaters, and we would see double bills of great movies from the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. You'd see a great double bill of Richard Brooks movies, or you would see a great film noir that you'd only seen on TV on the big screen with Dick Powell or Bogart or someone. And I was at a revival of John Huston's film with Jeff Bridges, our recent Oscar winner, and Stacy Keach, called Fat City. And there was nobody in the theater. People were all watching a Sylvester Stallone movie or something that night. The Stallone movie. But, and there was one other guy in the theater, and it was the guy that wrote The Last Detail, Jack Nicholson film that I didn't get. And he met me in the lobby, and he said, God, he goes, you know, Buster and Billy's one of my favorite movies. And I really liked you in Stay Hungry, and all I wanted to do was say, well, where were you at my audition for The Last Detail? And it was the guy that had written The Last Detail, Daryl Ponnickson. So, you know, it's that kind of stuff dovetails and evaporates, and it just makes you stronger, you know, and able to deal with the rejection that's part of our lives here.
Rodney, what about you? This is kind of depressing, actually.
Yeah, Rodney goes down to the wire. Rodney's a leading man. He goes down to the wire this week.
No, today.
Man, my probably the biggest job that I didn't get. I'm almost embarrassed to even say that I was bummed that I didn't get it. But it was a little TV show that went on to do really well. It's called Beverly Hills 90210. I had actually done a pilot for Aaron Spelling a year before called, oh God, it was Curse of the Corn People. And what it was kind of ahead of its time, I guess. It was about this group of filmmakers that went into, you know, Iowa to make this horrible horror movie, and you know, their misadventures. And the show obviously didn't get picked up, but I became, quote unquote, the new fair-haired boy at Aaron Spelling Productions. This was probably right after Nightmare. And so a year goes by, and they're doing 90210, and I get a phone call, and it's the last day of network. So, you know, the process of getting a TV show is you go and you audition for the casting director, and then the next step is you audition for the producer and the director, and then if they really like you, then they take you to network, where you sit in a room in front of 40 people and audition. And that's the final stage. So I get called into network for 90210 without ever having to audition at all. Now, it's hard to be candid in a room of this size, but
That's never been your problem.
No, it hasn't. The 90s were not exactly my brightest period. So the year before I'd done the show, I was kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and during the year before the 90210 audition, I had started dating this rock and roll princess in Los Angeles, and everything that kind of went along with that. So I walked into network after not seeing Aaron for a year, and 2 nights before I dyed my hair jet black. I probably weighed about 120 pounds. I was probably wearing like a Ramones t-shirt. And
I cast you.
Yeah, they just weren't very interested. But like somebody else at the table said, I'm sorry, I just woke up. I'm so glad I didn't get it, you know. It was the Jason Priestley part,
Yeah.
and it would have been, and God bless him, and you know, I wish I had his cars and his homes, but I'm much happier now where I'm at in my life after, you know, like it's great, like it would be great to be on The Sopranos for 10 years, but, and I hate speaking negatively about any project, but I'm just glad that I wasn't on 90210 for 10 years.
Ken, what about that De Niro part you lost?
Oh well, I don't know how to say this. I fought like hell to get an audition for Clark Kent as Superman. But they said I didn't fit the role. So to go back a little bit, I wanted to pay homage to Wes Craven as a black person. He knew how to write for black people too. I mean, and you were saying about how words are, and I just remember those wonderful creative words I had to say, fuck you, Fred, motherfucker, yeah, legendary. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street, I say this all the time, for two reasons I have to give homage to it, because Nightmare on Elm Street made history for the African American community. I am the first African American to ever survive a horror film. For a sequel. However, I think they forgot to kill me in part 3. That's why I got back. That's another story. And I also would like to, I always have to give homage, because for me, when I did Nightmare on Elm Street, I was new. And most of us, I think, was new. And I was new as a part as acting for the world, acting world. It was something new for me. I was still wet, and
New and wet.
New and wet. That's right. So I give homage because Robert England and Helga took us under their arms as young brothers and sisters, and that meant a lot to me, and it spoiled me because I thought I was going to get that on my next film. But they really looked out for me. And one of the things to England, I like to say, I saw the remake of Nightmare, the old Nightmare, and although I give homage to the guy that played Freddy, but Robert, there is no other Freddy Krueger.
There's going to be lots of other Freddy Kruegers over here. Just a little adjunct, a little parenthetical. Maybe Ken remembers this night, but it was god-awful cold in the deep San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
Out in the junkyard.
Yeah.
And I was when I finally got to kill Ken. finally Ken had to die and fulfill the stereotype. Ken must go down. But remember, we shot that 2 ways. And we shot a